are three different types of birthing locations. They are hospitals, home birth, and birthing centers. The first option is that mothers can give birth in a hospital setting. Usually, the primary attendants are obstetricians and nurses. The benefits of a hospital birth is that they are able to get emergency equipment at the hospital if anything goes wrong during the delivery process. Therefore, they are able to handle high-risk pregnancies and have access to those equipments that will help them in emergency situations. And approximately 99% of women give birth in a hospital. Giving birth at home is another option for mothers with low-risk pregnancies. The primary birth attendant for home birth is a nurse midwife. Pregnant women are watched closely in case they show possible risks during pregnancy. Also, they need to be aware of which hospitals are nearby just in case an emergency situation happens during the delivery process. 11% of women who plan home birth were transferred to a hospital due to failure of delivering the baby. Home birth is not considered best practice in the United States. The birth center is a third option available for pregnant women. Birth centers are run by nurse midwives and include low-risk pregnancies. They have some emergency equipment, but they may be referred to a hospital nearby if complications arise during the delivery process, and usually hospitals are nearby their birth centers.
The issues that we want to bring to light is this. Pregnant women are not always well informed of their choices, and there are major stigmas that exist for non-hospital births. The public health significance is that while a hospital will almost always be the safest, the chances on receiving an unwanted medical procedure is high. Unwanted procedures in pregnant women put them at a higher risk for postpartum depression, and it forces them to have to endure weeks to months of soreness and pain, depending on the procedure. A 2013 study showed that 59% of mothers say they had received an episiotomy without their consent. All we want to do is provide mothers with accurate and truthful information about where to give birth so that statistics such as this one will go down. We plan to achieve this by running ads on websites such as YouTube and Instagram in order to direct mothers to organizations such as Childbirth Connections and Every Mother Counts. These organizations look out for pregnant women and have a lot of information about different types of childbirth and the risks associated with them. Our hope is that a pregnant woman who is considering a non-hospital birth will see our ad and visit these organizations in order to make a well-informed decision where she wants to give birth to her child.
So, I will be discussing the dimensions of sexuality and how they relate to your different choices for where you wish to give birth. Biologically, where you give birth will be influenced by what types of drugs are administered at the location or can be administered at the location where you wish to give birth. An example of this is if you choose to give birth at home, you may not have access to the same amount of medical equipment as one would at a traditional hospital. Another thing that would come into play is there are multiple factors that relate to a high-risk pregnancy. These are if you have existing health conditions, if you are overweight or obese, if there are multiple births involved, meaning you might be giving birth to twins, triplets, and so on and so forth, or if you are a teenager or a woman over the age of 35. So these factors all influence where you should give birth. So if you have a higher risk pregnancy, it is generally recommended that you go to a facility with higher medical equipment and professionals who can easily switch the pregnancy to a C-section if needed. Psychological factors also play when it comes to choosing where you wish to give birth. One of the great things about having options to where you can give birth is the comfort that you can receive when you get to choose, say, a birthing center that has an appearance of a cozy home. It looks like a bedroom, so it's really comfortable to give birth there because it's not a foreign environment, and it's built to make you feel comfortable. If you have any psychological pre-existing conditions, may that be depression, anxiety, PTSD, it is very important to have that conversation with your medical provider as to where you should give birth based off of those factors, because childbirth can be a very stressful situation, and any of those pre-existing conditions can be escalated, and it can really cause a lot of stress on the mother and the child. A thing that is commonly overlooked is the fact that if you have faced trauma in your life, may that be subconscious or not, it can sometimes come out during childbirth, because childbirth is such a stressful situation that it can bring out a lot of subconscious situations or thoughts that you might have not known existed. So to keep that in mind as well when you wish to give birth and where to give birth, so that you have the professionals on hand who can assist you in if anything does take place. Sociocultural dimensions also play into where you choose to give birth. One of them is religion. If you are practicing a religion that does not partake in using drugs when giving birth, or there's a belief on where to give birth, or certain rituals that take place during giving birth or before giving birth, it is definitely a conversation that is needed to be had with your medical provider, your doula, your gynecologist, as to where you can respectfully partake in your religion and your rituals, while also having a safe delivery. Your community also highly impacts where you give birth. If you are from a community that has access to great hospitals, but does not have many birthing facilities, you will most likely end up going to a hospital due to the convenience of a hospital, and vice versa. If you live in a community that doesn't have access to many birthing centers, then you are also going to be most likely choosing options that are most convenient to you. So that social cultural aspect really does play into where you end up giving birth.
One viewpoint that our group wanted to express is that mothers should not feel pressured into receiving care from an OBGYN. They should be encouraged to look to some cheaper and more accessible alternatives if that is what they prefer. One thing that my group learned while researching this project was the role that nurse midwives can play all throughout a pregnancy. Nurse midwives do not only deliver babies, but they also can provide prenatal care and family planning services to pregnant moms. One hardship that my group faced was being a man down on this project. This meant we were each going to have to contribute a little bit more to the video in order to complete it fully. Fortunately, everyone in the group was very flexible with doing extra research, so it was not a large burden on any one person.